welcome back to your Memorial Day weekend edition of Summit Sunrise. I'm here with Dan, and Dan, you have quite the title. Can we just tell everybody exactly what it is that you do?
Sure. So the title is I am Colorado State University Extension Agent in Summit County. And I guess there's a little bit more natural resources agent, that kind of thing. So my focus is natural resources.
Okay, so now given that, tell me a little bit about what your role is while you're here in Summit County.
Sure. So Summit County really has an issue with the forests, I'm sure you're aware. And given my natural resources background and the forest situation, coming off of mountain pine beetle, I'm really here to educate the public about forests and their responsibility in the forest.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. And just to kind of give a little background, I'm sure we have a lot of people that are going to be visiting us this weekend. Maybe you haven't been here before, or you've been up a few times, but you've probably noticed that some of our trees are not so much green anymore.
We really have an issue here with our forests. 100 years ago or so, very loosely, miners came through. And they pretty well cut down all the trees at the time. So 100 years later, we have a same age class forest. And it's an old forest, so mostly lodgepole pine trees, and they're old, and so they're not really healthy. And we've had a drought for the last 10 years or so, and that doesn't help at all. The trees aren't really putting on much wood, they're stressed, and then enter mountain pine beetle, which we're kind of beyond beetle at this point. But, the beetle's job in nature is to kill old trees, to allow sunlight, nutrients, water to become available to the little guys. And that's really what's taken place, is the beetle has really killed the old trees. As I mentioned a minute ago, the old forest and the fact that the miners came through and all the trees are the same age, they're all old. The beetles are just doing their job. It just so happens it's across the entire landscape.
Right.
So that's tough for all of us.
Yes. And so, when it comes to our forest and the things that you're trying to reach out to people about, what are the types of things you're trying to educate people on? I mean, just hearing that little story, that's probably something you guys haven't heard. I haven't heard it put that way before. And really interesting.
It is very interesting. And I think the neat thing that I look at is we have this opportunity to participate in succession. And that's typically a geologic process. We live here in this short time frame, and the world looks somewhat static to us. But really, the forest is quite dynamic. It's always moving and changing. And something about the forest also is fire, and that's a big part of my job, is wildfire education, and empowering people to take responsibility. It's really our shared responsibility to prepare in the event of a wildfire. And the reason this is of concern is the forests are dying, they're old. We often talk about the trees as fuel, and ultimately communities can become fuel. And fire is a natural part of this ecosystem. Across the eons, it would really do its role in cleaning out the forest. And for about 100 years, kind of along that same timeline, we have a fire suppression policy in the United States. And so when a wildfire occurs, we protect our natural resources, our investments, and our life, property, and infrastructure, our big things. So in a matter of protecting communities from wildfire, a lot of what I do has to do with the Summit County Wildfire Council and defensible space creation and empowering people to really take responsibility for themselves and their interests here in Summit County so that we all have a safe community to live in.
That is a big job, Dan. That's a big job. And we've been putting up a graph here on the screen, or a picture on the screen. Can you tell me a little bit about what it is that we're seeing? Can you guys throw that back up on there? So what are we looking at here?
Sure. This is the Community Wildfire Protection Plan map book. Oh. So in this county, we have this plan. We're really quite an organized community. We're really looking at the potential for fire in Summit County because we're really in this interval where fire should return. It's been 100 years, 200 years, and in a lodgepole forest, we can expect fire to come again. And we live in this mountainous ecosystem where fire lives here. So we're doing a lot of things in Summit County to protect community, and this book is a representation of the treatments or fuel reduction, defensible space, tree clearing efforts that Summit County government, municipalities, the United States Forest Service, we've all engaged in this effort, and these pages show our specific focus areas in Summit County, and the hash marks are the work that's taken place. So in a lot of communities, you'll see that trees have been removed, and it's not always a clear cut. It could be very selective cutting, and ultimately it's a matter of modifying the flammable vegetation so that communities become more, really they become more fire wise is what we call it. It's a little bit of situational awareness, understanding of where we live, and taking responsibility so that when fire comes through, and we don't talk about if,
Right.
that our infrastructure and our values that are here at place might be protected.
And so, with that in mind, are there any certain programs that are really set out for that people can get involved in?
Sure. So they're really the two big programs we have are our grant programs. In 2008, Summit County voters voted themselves a little bit more tax to put aside for affordable housing, open space and trails, and a number of different things. Libraries, wildfire, forest health is part of that. So we have funds that are dedicated to offset the cost of fuel mitigation. So we have a wildfire grant program that is hazardous fuels, and that program actually closed. We call it sort of the first round. And then the second round is our Community Wildfire Protection Plan grant program. That's open right now until July 12th. So community groups, not just individuals, can apply for funds to offset the cost of fuel reduction and doing a number of other things. Right now, this Wildfire Protection Plan grant opens the door to things like cisterns. We've got a community in Summit County called Summit Estates, and last year they installed 4 cisterns to aid in their wildfire prevention activities because they're a community that doesn't have piped water. So things like bridges could be a part of this grant application where we'll offset cost so that the whole community becomes more fire wise. The second program that I'm here to highlight is on June 1st, which is a Saturday, at Colorado Mountain College in Breckenridge. We have the Ready, Set, Go Wildfire Action Planning event. And that's really to highlight, with some of the experts here in Summit County, things that you can do to become more fire-wise. So you can read about it, you can understand it through interviews like this one today, but to come to a workshop and talk specifically with the professionals in the field can really give you a better situational awareness or perspective on things that you can actually do in your own communities to become more fire-wise.
And so that's taking place June 1st. Do you have to get tickets in order to go? How do you sign up?
Sure. Well, an RSVP to me is great, so I kind of have an idea of how many people to expect.
Sure.
But on the other hand, it's a matter of just show up. It's a free workshop. It is 9 to noon on Saturday, June 1st, and we're having registration from 8:30 to 9, so we intend to start promptly at 9 o'clock. And there'll be some door prizes that we're going to give away to entice people to come. And, we're going to talk about emergency evacuation kits and communication plans. There's going to be a wildland firefighting rig on site, and so people can actually see what capabilities we have. Did you know that there's only 5 wildland firefighting rigs in Summit County?
I did not know that.
And that's what would be available at any given time. And so it's important, really the message is that citizen responsibility, each individual needs to take responsibility for their own land and make sure that they create defensible space. So if there's a truck available in your neighborhood, it might want to park at your house because your house is protected from fire. And so ultimately the Wildland Fire Action Planning event is a time that you can talk with the sheriff and firefighters. The American Red Cross will be there, and so you can learn very specific steps you can take now in advance of a fire so that when something comes, you're not scattered and unprepared, which
Right.
really isn't acceptable.
Right. Definitely want to. It'd be great to have a plan, and I'm sure anybody who's been up here and saw what happened last summer or last March as we looked at what was going on down the Springs. I mean, I think we'd all like to have a plan set in place. So June 1st would be a great place to go.
Yep.
Is it something that you want to bring your entire family to, or maybe leave the kids at home?
Sure. The kids might be a little bit bored. We've looked at this internally with the stakeholders, and it's really for the adults to do specific actions on their land. But we do often work with students, kids of all ages, because we feel like empowering them is a really important way to share this message through all of the community.
And so if people can't make it on June 1st, but they are, you've piqued their interest, or you talked about a lot of different things this morning, how would they get in touch with you to maybe ask questions or,
Right.
Find out more information?
Sure. Well, as I started, I'm the Colorado State University Extension agent in Summit County. And so as my kids say, I work at the Frisco Library. So honestly, our office is in that building. And if you were to Google the Summit County government site and then go to the extension page, CSU Extension page, or Our phone number's on the website there as well. Give us a call and we'll be glad to talk to you about all kinds of natural resource issues. And you know, the one that rises to the top is defensible space, wildfire prevention, and this ready, set, go concept.
All right, well, Dan, thank you so much for coming on this morning, and obviously so much to learn and so much information out there. And so again, if you're interested, make sure you get in touch with Dan, or make sure that you go to the workshop on June 1st. We have to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more Summit Sunrise, so don't go away.